That's the level of manifestation we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about, oh, get a Ferrari. We're saying, what is it in the broader matrix of reality that is A, why you don't have a Ferrari already if you want it so much, and B, why you even want a Ferrari as like the most important
huge
thing.
Welcome to Spread Your Third Eye podcast. I am your host, Mia Wrights, and we are here to spread that third eye wide open and take you beyond the veils into other dimensions.
Woo!
With my favorite channeler,
Yes.
Georgia Jean.
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Always a joy to be back.
She's coming through with the circle of light. Let's remind everybody real quick who the circle of light is throughout the episodes.
Yeah, I guess we need to, because you might just be showing up to this one because it's like the vibrational alignment, and the title is like, oh, I want to watch this. So the circle of light are a collective of non-physical energies that I have been channeling for 20 years. I had a Knock You to the Floor event where their energy came in, and I was spontaneously developed this ability to channel their consciousness. And initially it was sort of like, oh, we're this character and that character coming together. But now it's just basically whoever's asking the question, wherever that question is going to in consciousness, I am channeling the response from consciousness to that question.
Guys, so don't forget to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button because in the quantum field, the questions that you might be thinking of.
That's right.
The circle of light.
Yeah, it's all responding to you. So as we start having these conversations, and some of these conversations we have might push your belief structures, your sense of paradigm of reality, might spark off more questions in your head, like, is that really, how do I know? You know, what would happen if, or what about, oh, if they're saying this? All of those questions that you have in your mind as you're focusing on this podcast are already attracting answers. And some of them I might verbally channel today, and some of them you might watch another episode and the answer will be there. Or maybe you'll find a book or something else that will, in a more visceral, material way, answer that question for you. But certainly as you stick with us on this journey and keep watching the podcasts, you're going to get a lot of questions answered. Yeah. And actually, the girl that I had the event with, where we made the connection to the circle of light, and I talk about that in my other podcast, Coming Out of the Cosmic Closet, which is still out there.
Great podcast.
It's super fun. And you can hear a little bit more about the origin story of how this all happened for me. She and I were just constantly like, what is real? What is happening? What are past lives? Like we would kind of get into even debates with each other about it. But I think we had such intense questioning about, we got introduced to the idea of law of attraction, and then we would get into all like, what is that? How does it work? Is it really working? Can I really trust this? And all that constant questioning kind of led to this event where these energies just blasted in, and we're like, we're here
to answer your questions.
Yeah, we're here to answer your questions. We're here to help you. We're here to help raise the energy of the planet, and you're going to help us do it, sucker, is what they said. Well, not quite, but they were like, you're going to help us.
We're going to crack your consciousness
we're cracking
over and over. Yeah.
So a lot of questions have been asked, to the point for me, answered through doing this work. A lot of times when I have something going on, I'll have a client, and the session with the client will also answer a lot of questions as well. So we're all in this kind of quantum field matrix together.
Yep.
And you are being heard, and we gonna answer it one way or another.
Okay, so I think we want to make this episode about. We just, in the previous episode, talked about parallel realities and quantum jumping to parallel realities.
Yeah, getting into different timelines and stuff like that.
But the circle talks a lot about how we can manifest through our heart center, because your heart center knows your highest timeline. And if you can activate your heart center, it'll start creating that in the physical reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you just have to kind of receive that manifestation.
Yeah. being heart-centered is in a way that's going to create your highest timeline for you. And if you haven't heard the second episode of the podcast, we go really more in depth in that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about whether we should be manifesting, how much we should be manifesting with our brain versus going into our heart to tap into these parallel realities of our highest timeline.
Yeah, kind of the difference between conscious, deliberate manifestation and this idea that actually just focusing in your heart is going to help the heart generate this awesome reality that you then receive. And there really is a free will choice. And it's so funny because people talk a lot about the freedom to choose right now. Like it's a big theme in a lot of storylines. I'm not going to go into which storyline or, which side is saying what, but this idea of freedom of choice and having the agency to make your choices for yourself. And the circle will come in and say the biggest free will choice we have on the table right now is whether we want to keep generating our personal and collective reality through the mind that has all the unsupportive conditioning and programming. And we basically can just look on the news and see how that's working out for us. Or we can do this work of coming into the heart, surrendering a bit and letting the heart manifestation expand, and then to start to receive that and to almost be shown and given to us what we would love. So that's a real, you have the choice. You can keep going with your mind, but one of the things that and it sounds so simple when I say it like this, but when I received it as a teaching for the first time, it was like, it took a few goes to get the wowness of it, but it's basically like, if there is something that you want to have happen that isn't manifest, you don't know how to make it. Because if you did know how to manifest it, you'd be experiencing it.
Yeah.
Like I know how to manifest Mia now. I'm experiencing her. And I know how to manifest this podcast now because I'm experiencing it. 6 months ago or a year ago, Mia didn't know how to manifest this podcast with me, and then it came into an alignment through heart centering and the breaking down of the mind, basically. So, but that's a really powerful thing because a lot of times we get caught up in our desires. And it's like we get caught up in dreams and fantasies. And I've done this. I'm sharing this because I got caught up in my own mind's fantasy crushes on people where I thought something would really happen or this would happen or that would happen. And I didn't understand that it was in many ways my mind distracting me from the energy underneath. And I think this is where people can get really confused if they're focusing on something with a lot of imagination. Wouldn't that be amazing? And then it doesn't become manifest. Well, what is that, basically?
So what the circle of light describes is that you are a powerful conscious creator that is actually manifesting your reality all the time.
All the time. This is all manifest. You're always manifesting.
Yeah. So you should be able to manifest what you want, but what is blocking you? And actually, she has a boot camp that I did when I first started working with her called the Authentic Positivity Boot Camp. And I thought that was really interesting because if we're manifesting all the time, you're actually manifesting from core vibrations that are probably unconscious to you. And I thought, I read some science stuff, a psychiatrist, I think when I took my psychology course at college, and it said that you do 97% of everything that you do comes from your subconscious.
Yeah.
And so that's also probably what you're manifesting is a lot of stuff,
a lot of unconscious
belief systems, traumas from your subconscious. So it was
that biological belief structure that we talk about a lot, which is literally our genetics writing a program saying this is what it is to be a human and this is what it is for you to be this human. All unconsciously running all the time.
Where are we going with that? We'll cut this part out.
I just cut you off there. But the difference between being a conscious creator and understanding that you're always manifesting all the time, but so much of it is unconscious, that when you're trying to manifest something new, that's really what people talk about when they want to manifest. They're not, you're manifesting all the time, and it's really good to absorb that and understand that you're manifesting all the time, rather than thinking it's this like, it's a single thing that happens once every 2 weeks. Like, oh, I manifested, my dream car or whatever. Or once a year you manifest something.
Wait, can I time out real quick and have you explain, and I don't know if you want the circle to explain this, like, well, what do you mean? How am I manifesting all the time? Like, why don't you talk about just that, like how reality is created through your mind? You are actually always in spirit having a physical experience, almost like a dream right now. Well, because
me, I was going to do manifestation 101 and you're like, no, let's get into the real.
I just wanted to say that real quick. You're manifesting all the time. You are a powerful creator.
Yeah.
You are part of the cloth of God. You are actually in like a reality game.
Projectional reality.
Like a video game right now.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bought into that so much is because I've read so many people writing about their near-death experience where they actually died, came out of their body, went beyond the veil, and then saw all this stuff, came back and wrote about it. Yeah. And then when the Circle of Light was saying kind of the same thing, that like you are always in spirit, you are a conscious creator down here having fun on this game, this video game. And so that I just want to segue into that you are quite literally manifesting all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
This avatar that you are, like this individual identity, it's like an avatar in a game that you're playing through, and like
So when you're touching this, well, your brain is revealing. Your brain is showing you this is hard, this is soft. I see this, but is it how real or not real is it? That's a mind twist. That's a brain twister. I just want to give that core. How am I manifesting all the time? Well.
Because it's it is, and this is actually, I think it's a point that people can really struggle with when they start learning about manifestation. And also some people that I know, when they find out that this is sort of like a game, like a
video game,
like a simulation that is being generated from consciousness outside, just in the same way as when you sit and play a video game, there's sort of, you're the controller of this little avatar. Some people can kind of take that the wrong way, where it's like, oh, well, what's the point of even trying? Because if I'm just being controlled by something outside of myself, like what's the point of caring about this reality if it is just a video game? Like, you don't care about Mario running around in his car, like emotionally, like Mario.
You're gonna blow him up. You're like, you know what? We'll just blow Mario up today. It's a video game.
That's hilarious. Mario got crushed by a watermelon, and I don't even know what happens to Mario, but I'm sure things like that happen. And it seems really heartless, right? And so people often are like, well, why would we create these horrible realities? It seems kind of like heartless of consciousness to be like, well, we're going to make all these people, and then we're going to pit them against each other, and then we're going to watch them kill each other a lot over and over again. But that's kind of what people get into when they're playing video games. Yeah. They're like, pow, pow.
That's true.
So people can look. This is a real rabbit hole question. Like, to understand that you as a individual are being sort of run by your broader consciousness, and that your broader consciousness created this singular identity, or this identity that you are, to have a certain set of experiences. But here's the fun thing that's going on now, and why there is so much information coming out about understanding that you can be a conscious creator, is because the video game itself right now is you realizing that you're both the avatar and the creator of your game, and that you can allow that bigger consciousness to merge into this avatar right now, and then see how that changes the game. Like, Mario couldn't ever really get out of being Mario and, dealing with whatever Mario deals with, like this little yellow hat. Mario was never going to change the landscape of the game. But we are here at this time right now where this is really what the Great Awakening is. It isn't necessarily understanding that, like, governments are corrupt and all this sort of stuff, but we're actually awakening to the fact that we are the avatar and the creator. And through the marriage of understanding those two aspects of our consciousness, this is like first level multidimensionality, actually, to be like, I'm all consciousness. I'm the consciousness that is saturated to create me, the intelligence behind my specific creation. And I am the avatar itself. And bringing all this together, I can now literally change the game in front of the avatar. Like, it's basically like taking Mario and putting him into some other game that I don't know the name of right now. And now Mario is playing, like, you know, something. So that's what's incredible about our game right now. And that's what the Circle are coming through to help people understand. Not the hopelessness of this idea that everyone's caught in a sim and we're just like in the Matrix playing this out.
It's more of an empowering thing that like, okay, wait. So I can create my own reality. This isn't being done to me.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's when my whole world shifted, is when I started learning about manifesting and then meditating and all that stuff. And then I really took it up a notch and then met up with the Circle of Light. And then they're like, you really want to manifest? You really want to change the world? I'm like, yeah. And they were like, get into your heart center. Let's do this big trauma work. Let's do existence templates. And I was like, boom. But boom. It's an empowering thing.
Totally.
And you can change your world. You can, like the stuff that you see on the news. I mean, not the bad stuff, but you literally can quite shift your world. And that's why this work is so important. So anyway, let's talk about the manifesting, getting back to the manifesting and the heart centering.
So getting back to, you know, once you have that bigger concept, that the work that we're doing is like bringing in this bigger aspect of consciousness. So let me just go back to this idea. Like, if you think about Mario, right? Mario's like been riding his little car, driving around, or Zelda. Zelda's another pretty simple one. She's like driving around in a little thing. She's Zelda. And she's still pretty, you know, they've still got some powers, but they don't have that many powers that they can change the landscape of the reality in front of them. So if those little characters started to self-actualize, like actually understand that they were caught in a game and became aware of the person running the control stick in the middle of the game,
they'd be like, fuck this, I'm getting out of this car, I'm walking away.
Or they could actually just turn around. This is actually what the master consciousness is. They could turn around and be like, hey, why don't you just get rid of the dragons chasing me? Why don't you just change this entire landscape? Instead of me hunting desperately for one pot of gold, just turn this into gold. And consciousness is almost waiting for us to have that moment of self-actualization where we're no longer just letting it run through us in a way and run through us on these programs that they're punched in. We're actually now allowed to look back to the master conscious and say, I want this landscape changed. I am an actualized avatar. And the way
I have awakening. I have an awakening.
You have an awakening.
The great awakening.
The great awakening is to realize that you're all of these things at once. And this process that we talk about at its deepest level is merging that all consciousness into the avatar itself. So the avatar is no longer just operating from a very limited set of resources that were set up at the beginning, the inception of that game. Like Mario, I don't even know what his powers are, but like he drives that car or whatever, and he doesn't even have some of the magic Zelda has, right? So he just had that limited premise set up, and he doesn't get much more powerful than that. Now we're saying, okay, I'm bringing in the huge creative force, and I'm giving Mario some dragons and some, like some extra powers. And then how does the game change? How does the landscape change? That's the level of manifestation we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about, get a Ferrari. We're saying, what is it in the broader matrix of reality that is A, why you don't have a Ferrari already if you want it so much, and B, why you even want a Ferrari as like the most important thing.
This work is huge.
It's huge. So coming back to like a more simple example about manifestation, we were talking, because we just did the episode on parallel realities, and I was like, I feel like we're missing a an example that's really specific. So we had joked at the end that we wanted to, land into the parallel reality where we have 50,000 subscribers to this episode. So when we do this work, if a client was if you were the client, you wanted 50,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel, or that you wanted to reach 50,000 people with your book, or whatever it is you want to do, the circle would say, why do you think, guess, believe, or imagine you don't have 50,000 subscribers manifest now already, right? Right now, why don't we have 50,000 subscribers to this channel when this is being made? And the first logical thing is, well, the show's only just come out. There hasn't been enough time. So in the work we would do is we would actually work with the illusion of time and space itself, because that is one of the major constructs of reality that limits our sense of manifestation, because we operate in this kind of linear time, game. We're well, we need to do this and do that, and it's going to take time to build up. If we dissolve that illusion of time and space to a greater degree that we can shrink that time, then you might get 50,000 subscribers much faster and with a lot less effort than if you didn't work on that template. So a lot of the times it isn't even just like a personal belief structure. When we started, you had more personal belief structures about just putting yourself in front of the camera, which I'd done more of, so I wasn't as worried about it. That could be the first level of why the show isn't manifest, is people are I'm going to put myself on the TV. People are going to be like, well, and you got to get past those individual belief structures, but then manifesting, not just making it, but then it reaching people. Maybe one of the belief structures for us is that the information that we're bringing through is very confronting to the collective reality right now. So there's a bit of having to open up the pathways for people to their consciousness to even receive this material, basically, as well.
What about you manifesting a parallel reality where you called for, what's your football team's name?
Richmond Tigers.
You called for the Richmond Tigers to win the
grand final in Australian rules football.
And everybody wrote on there because they haven't won in
37 years.
And she said, everybody wrote, there's no way, and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
She called for it, and it's on her Facebook.
Yeah, you could go
in
on Facebook.
2017.
Yeah, 2017.
And people were like, no.
Yeah.
So tell us.
So that was a little, when I started getting all this information about this concept of bending the matrix and parallel reality helping, and how do you get from one parallel reality into another parallel reality where what you want to have happen is happening, I decided to experiment with this on my football team, who hadn't won a grand final, hadn't been in a grand final for 36 years, hadn't won a grand final for 37 years. And football, when I was younger, my dad and I used to go together. It felt like something I could care enough about, but that also wasn't like a life and death kind of situation because manifesting, when you have too much attachment, that can also slow things down. But I was like, this is a really big one. They won a few games at the beginning of the season. Then they kind of dropped off. And I was like, if this stuff the Circle of Light is telling me about parallel reality is real, and I'm going to get behind this as a human being, saying, telling my clients we can do this work, I'm going to do, this is my project that I'm going to work on with the tools that we had been receiving. And, and I worked on some of my belief structures and some emotional stuff and stuff probably about my dad and I, what it would mean or whatever. But there was one day where I went into the matrix of the energy of why they hadn't been winning. And this team has a huge fan base, a very impassioned fan base, right? Who's like my father, the whole emotional roller coaster.
Explored his emotional life.
Explored his emotions through his emotional life through the rise and the fall of a football team. Like he just was not a robot, but he just, the biggest feelings he had were about. Basically, the guy only told me he loved me with almost his dying breath on his deathbed. He never said it to me in life. Yeah, that. So he wasn't, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, is that wild? I was watching you telling your kids that you love them and stuff like that. I'm like, I had to wait till my dad almost died. In fact, he actually went into a coma, came back, told me he loved me, and then he died. Yeah. And he must have seen that he needed to tell me that. Yeah. Before he died. Yeah. Because we just couldn't, we didn't say it. I wouldn't say it really to him either because it'd be like,
yeah, it'd be awkward.
It'd be awkward, super awkward. So anyway, sidetrack. That's why the football team thing meant a lot. But not that much,
Yeah.
So I sat down and they have this huge fan base. And what I realized is this is an elite football team. They had some amazing players. They already have a big structure of, coaches, physios. They've got all the top of the line, recovery, blah, blah, blah. And so what I actually realized when I went into the matrix, it was the disbelief in the collective of the fan base, which is probably well over $1 million, $1 million people, their emotional roller coaster of like, oh, they're the greatest. Oh, they're the worst. Oh, they're the greatest. I had to go into that energy because every time the team plays, that's the energy that the players are kind of holding
they're feeling the energy of the audience, and the audience is
they're
affecting.
connected to it too.
Yeah.
It's an extension of them, the fan base, and they're influenced by it. I think the vibrational balance is bigger in the fan base than in the team. So it wasn't about the team not believing in themselves. I had to go into the energy of the fan base and really touch into, that collective hopelessness, and probably not just about the football team, but also about their lives, why it would mean so much whether the team won or not, because all types of people are in football and they take a lot of solace in their team winning. It means something. It lifts their spirits if the team wins. So it was that when I spent like 5 hours doing the energy work on that. And after I came out of that, I knew they would win the grand final. I knew it was a
knowingness.
I hit the knowingness. And that's when I went on my Facebook, and you could go to my Facebook, Georgia Jean. It's somewhere, I think about July, August
of 2017.
I'm like Richmond Tigers to win the grand final, and people are like, no way. And sure enough, they did. And they actually also won out of the next 4 grand finals, they won 3. And I was like, and you know what? I recorded Truth Ripples. I can't fake these, right? I was like, also the other thing for me was like, that was such an amazing thing for me. And it was so great that my dad got to see them win a grand final. He died in 2019. So that was huge. And then they won 2 more, but because they didn't get the back-to-back, so then they got the back-to-back. And then really in my own heart, I was like, everybody needs to have a turn at this. Like, we can't just have Richmond win forever, because everybody should have the joy of their team win. So then I just like backed off and stopped doing anything about it.
But this is a prime example of you can quite literally jump parallel realities by going into the emotion or the resistance with the emotions, like we were talking about the last.
And I will tell you something also super amazing about this story, which I'm getting my truth peoples again. Yep. I cannot fake this. I cannot fake this. Because this should, if you're thinking, the heart centering stuff is like waffly, woo-woo. When the year after they won the grand final, I went back to Australia. Of course, my dad had bought the book, Yellow and Black, which is the story of the year, the cultural shift that team went, while I'm doing energy work on them, like they, in the manifested reality, were going through a cultural shift. And all the work that we do is love and acceptance. It's all we do all the bending the matrix through. It's not like hocus pocus and, it's all through this process of loving and accepting and purifying energy and running it through the heart, basically. I read the book, and the book outlines that the year before they completely changed the culture of that football club to love. I don't know if I've ever told you
no,
this.
No, you did not.
They changed the whole culture to love, that they changed that they would just love each other as a team, that the coach would love the players. Yes, and I am kidding you not, their star player was, and a bunch of their star players were working with this I'm truth pimping all over, this mindfulness woman. And in the book.
Oh, so they were working with a mindfulness woman that year.
When
you were working behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Because I was just drawn to some of the players who had huge auras as well. I was like, there's this player, Dustin Martin, who's just like an unbelievable player. I just saw him as like the star player. But then as I started to learn, that guy was doing all this work with mindfulness with this coach. I forget what her name is, Emma something. You can go like Google this. And in the book, they talk about that this coach was coming in and working with the defense team, which was some of the best defense team ever, doing them meditations with them when they were connected by the white light. I'm kidding you not. We're talking like in America, there's been the version of an NFL team having people come in and work with them and talk about them being connected with the white by the white light.
That's what I'm saying. This is like the upper echelon. This is like echelon. You're leveling up. When you're doing this type of work, you are leveling the fuck up. It's like if you want to like run the world and not in a bad way, but change the world and all this shit. This is the type of work we're talking about. There's a lot of people that are probably like, they're crazy, la la la.
Yeah.
You just haven't awakened yet to the truth.
To the truth of consciousness behind the scenes. And I actually, after that, I was like, wow. So the parallel reality where I landed my consciousness as a focal point, where my football team won the grand final. Well, of course, it would be a parallel reality where the team is working with some kind of life coach connecting them all by the white light, because that is the parallel reality I would probably create for that to become manifest, as opposed to like if I read the book and it's like, yeah, we came in and we beat them with sticks every day until they started kicking goals. I'm all like crying, and I'm reading the book and like the shift is happening when football teams are unifying in love and all this sort of stuff. They haven't been doing that well in the last couple of years, but
you're like, hey, I stepped out. They're not doing well. I stepped out. I can't hold the weight for everybody.
I got other things going on now, you know. But it's true. I kind of lost interest.
You're on your own.
You're on your own, Richmond Tigers. And I actually messaged with the coach as well. The captain. I wrote to the captain, and on Instagram I was like, I really believe in what you're doing, because he did this beautiful speech as a football captain.
Wow.
And talked about what love had done for the team.
Wow. Pretty
for
amazing.
A mansy team.
Meanwhile, the Georgia Jeans in the background going, I love and accept. I love and accept.
Yeah, I love and accept. Anyway.
Frequency first, manifestation next.
That's right.
Second.
Yeah. And one of my dreams is that I might be able to work with them one day. Who knows? I think they probably thought I was a bit crazy reaching out to them, you know. But, you know, at the same point.
If they heard this story, they'd be like,
Yeah. I mean, but yeah.
You have the Facebook post to prove.
I've got the Facebook post to prove that I called it. I felt it. I had the knowingness. And again, coming back to that idea of two states of creation, knowingness and manifestation. So in the illusion of time and space, I knew in July or August that they were going to win, but we had to play out the reality in time. But at that point, logical point in place and time and space, which was September 28th, well, it was on my birthday. It was the day before, because, that was the other thing, is they were playing the grand final. Like,
no way.
I think I was on
Can't
my
make that up.
One of the years it was on my birthday, because
it's
always the last weekend of September, and I'm born September 28th. One of the wins was on my birthday, and in because it was
was a God week.
So I was like,
universe, all consciousness week.
Because particularly for that in this thing that it happened not like on my birthday the day before. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, let's get back to manifesting versus heart centering, and what ratio, if any, that we do.
Right. So, and this is like, again, you're manifesting all the time. If you are getting this information right now, you manifested it. If you're listening to it right now, you manifested it. If there's a car honking outside while you're trying to concentrate on this, you manifested that both. And that could be...
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, everything. You're manifesting everything.
I know.
And that's the thing to understand. So we always talk about this idea again. If it isn't knowingness or manifestation, it's an indicator that the mind is in the way, that some part of the psychological mind, the programming of the mind, including the biological belief structure that is part of the mind. When we talk about the mind, we're talking about your conscious, unconscious belief structures and that biological belief structures, which is the psychology in our body, basically. If it isn't knowingness or manifestation, there is mind in the way. And when you go into the energy in the mind that is in the way, you have the opportunity to harvest that energy and then give it to your heart or give it directly to the manifestation that you're conscious that you want to create. And the reason why there's been some kind of separation between mind manifestation and heart-centering manifestation is to have that understanding there's so many things that we want in the world right now, especially collectively, that aren't becoming manifest because we're trying to fix things with our mind, instead of doing this process of surrender and going into the heart and letting that broader consciousness come in from outside the Mario game, fill up Mario, and then let Mario change the reality in front and experience a different reality in front. So the proportion of, like for me personally, I'm mainly heart center now as my manifestational tool because I saw it be so much better so often. But I also will go into my heart and say, heart, show me, what should I be focusing on? And then it might show me something that I can direct my conscious intentions towards bringing into manifestation. So, for example, right now, this year I've been working on a really big challenge in skydiving because I'm not that good at it. But I've been doing the training camps to be on a world record, which is a huge, like I'm not an elite athlete with like all of this stuff. So I was like, but I am conscious because I saw a vision that guided me when I went into my heart. I basically saw a vision of me seeing over this formation, and I got some sensations in my body that indicated to me that I should pursue this pathway, even though if you'd asked me when I started this, it would have felt impossible for me to do. So now with my mind, I am constantly working on, or with my intentional manifestation, I am constantly working on digging up the resistance in me to the belief and also the physical belief that I could actually do that, or I could bring that into manifestation. So it's kind of, I'm still using intentional manifestation tools to pursue something I believe was shown to me from the heart or the broader perspective in some way.
Yeah. So heart centering is...
So heart centering can reveal something, and then you're still taking some steps to dissolve the resistance to it really arriving in your life as a manifestation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I would use more conscious intention. You can go, like right now, people will go, this is what I found more with mind, like conscious manifestation, just using my mind. So I would be like, say, let me pick something else that I've wanted, like, I can't think of anything because I'm pretty happy right now. So.
Well, okay.
But basically, even in the past where I was whatever, let's just say I wanted to like 10x my business, that's like a thing. That as you go into the energy of, let's say, I talked about like $500,000 before. Like, say I wanted to make my business like I'm making $500,000 a year, every year, all the time, and I go into that energy right now that's saying I don't have $500,000 a year. I might feel into that, and why don't I have it? And then I'll hear, because I don't think I'm worthy of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So then I'll go and work on that unworthiness thing and kind of clear those templates on a whole bunch of different levels, personal, collective, planetary. I'll do a lot of work on it. De-anchor, that's another tool we haven't talked about, but de-anchor from it. Once I've cleared unworthiness, my desire for $500,000 a year may have shifted, because $500,000 a year might have been something that a part of me that felt unworthiness
Needed to make you feel worthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think what happens when you really do the work, the desire points change anyway. And what you're left with is the manifestation that you're in. And a lot of the
And
times,
that's like actually just joy, being like joyous over what you have now, and always having abundance come to you all the time when you need it.
And like I actually live a pretty, well, I have an expensive hobby in terms that I do skydiving, but my life is very simple. Like, what brings me joy is just sitting on my little porch and, you know, like
seeing little bunnies in your grass.
Seeing little bunnies in the grass, you know. So what actually brings me fulfillment isn't necessarily what my mind wanted. And I don't think it matters whether you start with your heart or your mind.
Okay.
If you're using the tools, basically the tools are always dissolving the mind matrix that could be making that the thing you want when really it isn't going to make you happy. The tools are always dissolving the mind matrix, such that your broader consciousness just starts coming through you anyway, and the alignments with the intelligence of your broader consciousness that already knows that it's infinite love and infinite worthiness just start to happen anyway, and you become one with your manifestation in that sense, instead of being driven so much by the pain of desire because there's a lack, if that makes sense. So for me, I've reached more like I really trust when I follow when I focus in my heart, and then I just listen to the quiet voice of intuition that tells me to go this way rather than this way. That's what I've been working on more than sitting down. Now, having said that, when I get excited about something, like I have a goal this year with skydiving, and I was on a skydiving team, I used a lot more of the tools to dissolve a lot of resistance that was arising in me by having these goals that are far outside of my comfort zone. And my belief in what I believed I was capable of in skydiving, starting at like 44 and being like, now I'm like 54, like being on a world record skydiving is pretty far out. So, yeah.
So get into your heart center, guys.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter which way you go. It will come to that same place. And then you just start receiving this life that is probably not even what you like. Certainly living on a drop zone skydiving was nothing that my mind 10 years ago would have told me I wanted, and that would be literally the happiest period of my life.
I did want to, before we wrap this episode up, I did want to just remind everybody that we have the episode 3 talking about living in the now moment. So if you are like manifesting and using your mind, and then also going into your heart center, people aren't really teaching you about how to receive your manifestations. That's a huge piece. Ding. And so if you are going into your heart center, or if you're saying that, of course I can have this, of course I'm certain I can have $1 million a year or 50,000 subscribers or whatever, you have to remember, if you're not receiving the chair under you, the lights, and being in the now moment, you're not going to receive your manifestations.
That's right.
Receive your manifestation now. This is your manifestation.
This is your manifestation.
And that's where it all comes in. And that's a huge piece to manifesting. Try to get into the now moment to receive your manifestations now. And that's huge. Game changer. Don't forget to ground, because the earth has the physical codes to help bring your manifestations into the physical. Those are 3 pieces that are part of heart centering. Of course, you can say, of course, I am certain that I can have X, Y, and Z. Go into your heart, receive, ground with your feet. 3, potent.
3. Yeah, that's why we've made those the first 3 episodes, because they're so key for this, because everyone wants to know how to manifest. Everyone really does want to have a better life. Even when people are like, I want to know what my purpose is or my spiritual mission, even that is not going to drop in until you are dropped into this life. And I'll actually say this to a lot of people who are more spiritual, quote unquote, who feel that connection to energy and broader consciousness. all of that potential that you're calling in with having that beautiful connection. And obviously I have it because I channel consciousness. But the potential of it, the good feelings of touching, energy, buzzing and flowing and feeling really great, don't become manifest until you are accepting that you're here as a human being here on earth at this time. You have to receive your own incarnation here. You can't resist. You can't be like, oh, I'm a starseed and I don't really belong here. That is one of a huge, I mean, I could go into a whole thing on that. A huge way that the potential that spiritual people are wanting to see actualized on the earth right now through their spiritual practice are blocking having happen because they haven't accepted that they are here and that it's cool, that it's good.
Coming into your bodies, grounding, going within is a way to ascend.
Yeah.
It's not going out of your body.
Not going out.
You want to
It's
ascend, you
bringing
have
the
to go
high frequencies in.
deeper, deeper inside of you. It's always eyes in, eyes in.
Yeah. And people like that word ascend. I know it's big out there, this concept of ascension. And we don't tend to use it as much. And you're welcome to and everyone's welcome to. But just because I think there is this idea of your energy going up and out, we're bringing the higher frequencies down and in and then ascending the reality from that experience. Like bringing the broader consciousness into Mario and then Mario creating a new game. Rather than Mario just getting out of the game. Yeah. It's more like, hey, can you help me?
Yeah, go within.
Change the reality.
Be in your body, receive.
It's very receptive. And that's part of the power of moving into the feminine energy as well, being in a more receptive state and then responding. So you're taking action to bring your manifestation, because there's still action in manifestation. Like Mia still had to bring this
That's
set
the masculine,
together.
The action,
but you're doing it as a response, not a forceful that kind of forceful willfulness, regardless of what's going on. So, and it's when the energy has built up enough in you, and you're starting to feel it happening. You start to respond. Like when I'm like, yeah, I'll come out and do the podcast.
I wasn't even planning on having her do the podcast. I just on a whim was like, my work is all about the circle of light and how it changed my life. And will you come on the podcast? And she was like, yeah. And then I was like, she's like, I'd do a podcast with you. And I was like, oh my God, that would be amazing. I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know how I was going to get people to come on, or I just started and knew my dream was to have a podcast and to do all this work. And then she was like, I'll do the podcast with you. I was like, holy shit, that's like amazing.
Yeah.
And here we are.
She received it and then she responded to it and got this like adorable set together, and we're having a ball making it together.
Living my dream life. I mean, this is the type, if you work with the circle of light, this is the type of stuff that you're going to get into your lane and like start doing stuff that you would never even believe.
Yeah. And just take the transmissions in these.
Yeah.
Even when I'm just talking, there's still energy coming in. Just receive these episodes as much as you want. And then don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
Yeah. You guys can find Georgia on the circleevolution.com. If you want to link up with the Circle of Light, do one-on-one sessions, game changer. It'll change your life.
Pretty awesome.
I am not kidding. This is like major energy work, matrix shifting. I mean, it's just like mega. This isn't just like a entry to spirituality. Like this is the next level for real. And the Monday Night Awakenings, I do not miss her Monday Night Awakenings. She does a transmission every Monday with the Circle of Light, and the stuff that they come through. I just like, they do energy work on you every Monday, or they're doing energy work with you and the world, how to shift. It's wild and amazing.
Wild. If you want to be part of the planetary healing vortex, that's where we're doing the big work. If you're interested in changing
the world, this is the type of work, and changing your life. This is the type, you found the right place.
Yeah.
And you can find me at spreadyourthird.com and on
Pam
Insta.
Anderson of consciousness. She's so gorgeous, and you're so savvy with it. Like she explains it so beautifully. She's wonderful.
And hey, if you want to come interview Georgia in the Circle of Light, there's a link below. You can fill out the application, and we just might be seeing you in the studio next, and you can ask whatever questions that you're interested in, and we can all just have a good time.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
Awesome. We love you all. See you next time.
Bye. Boo.